It is the obstacle that could end their quest to become a Marine officer.
Come on, you're looking weak, son. You're looking weak.
Candidates are constantly monitored.
And next time you go home, don't you?
Academic and physical requirements comprise half the evaluation.
Don't you, son!
Leadership makes up the other half.
Get control of yourself, son.
In one particular candidate's case, I wanted him to know that this is a team effort, that him and I were gonna make it through, that he could do this. We stayed with each other, and I told him we're gonna finish this together, and he made it. For some of them, that's what they needed. I will also tell you, if he had quit, if he had given up, started to walk, he was done.
Let's go, Pharaoh! Don't want me passing, son.
I doubted whether I'd even make it. It was the only thing, the first thing I'd done in my life where I thought, effort might not matter. You know, I may give 110% here and I'm still not gonna make it.
Why are you wasting my time, son?
I'd never done anything like that before. This was an environment where hard work wasn't enough. So I had doubts every day about whether I'd be there when the sun came up the next morning.
Getting through OCS is only the first step in becoming a Marine officer. Candidates next attend TBS, the basic school, for 6 months, where they learn the nuance and detail of being an officer. Then they attend a specialty school, such as artillery, communications, aviation, or infantry.
OCS is really just the absolute baseline of the continuum of education that a Marine officer is responsible for in his career. 3 things we tell them: know yourself, know your job, and know your people. And that all constitutes that warrior ethos. It begins here. They learn it here at OCS. It's embedded at TBS, and then it's validated by the young Marines you lead. My job is to screen and evaluate potential candidates for being officers in the Marine Corps. I made a promise to every Marine that I've served with over 33 years that no one will walk across that grinder graduating that I would not want to lead my son or my daughter. As simple as that. If I would not trust them with my own child, I will not trust them with yours.
The framework of leadership taught in the Marine Corps is built on a belief that Marines have a unique culture, a warrior ethos that sets them apart. Marines are very connected to their traditions and history. Near the Quantico, Virginia base, the Marines have constructed the National Museum of the Marine Corps as a lasting memorial to their sacrifices.
It will be the Corps' Mecca, the place that all understand that it's theirs. Every Marine that has gone before and the families of Marines. 70% of the people who come to the National Museum will clearly not be Marines. Most will not even have served in one form or another. They're going to be able to find out a little bit more about what it is to be a Marine. They're going to be able to walk the history of the nation and see it as Marines saw it throughout that history.
There's no group quite so enthusiastic about their own history than Marines. They're proud of where they've come from, proud of their culture. So you will walk alongside, run alongside, crawl alongside Marines in a lot of different places to make you feel like you're there with a Marine.
It's a museum that's all interactive, totally immersing the visitor in the experience of the major campaigns and the history. It's just another step in preserving that legacy.
I think it's part of indoctrinating people into the culture. It's about respect, really. We remember the Marines at the battles of World War I, and we remember the Pacific Island hopping campaign. We remember the urban fights and jungle fights of Vietnam. We remember the Gulf War, and you merge into that stream of history. You merge into that stream, and you know that you won't be forgotten. Not only that you won't be physically left behind, but you and the exploits of your Marines will live on in the history of the Corps. It's important, and it's reassuring, and it's comforting, I think, for Marines who are in harm's way.
Turn around.
In 1999, the Marine Corps integrated a new component into its training for all officers and enlisted personnel.
Don't, because you get used to this right here. If you do this.
The Marine Corps Martial Arts program is designed to improve individual warfighting skills and train all Marines to be one-on-one warriors. The idea for McMap can be traced to the end of the Vietnam War and a concern the Marines had gotten away from individual combat skills and training.
Get back, sir. Get back. Drop it. Drop it.
We teach the entire spectrum of violence.
Anything could be a weapon of opportunity. On a battlefield, it could be a helmet.
If you're going to go to the battle with this skill, it's usually going to be to kill someone.
Grab my other hand here and choke them out by just pulling up real hard.
The physical disciplines within the martial arts are different than what most people perceive of civilian martial arts. A lot of the perception is what they see in modern media, movies and TV. Most of that is myth and special effects.
McMap combines the most effective martial arts techniques from around the world into a single program. Some of the training techniques were developed at the International Hoplology Society, a group that studies why and how different cultures engage in combat.
We're setting up a program of training that teaches them to use the weapons they have at hand in a very simple set of patterns.
The primary emphasis is behavior, combative behavior, okay? Can you function in a lethal environment? The stress is part and parcel of that. That's why these are live blades.
Risk has to be involved in the training. It has to be as close to reality on the battlefield as possible. If you've dealt with it in a training situation, you are better prepared to deal with it on the battlefield situation.
All about training behavior.
What we're looking for is, can you stay cool, calm, professional, do your job, which in this case is closing with dominating or killing the enemy, while you're under tremendous pressure.
Training in technique is not nearly as important as training in behavior. The ability to move in on somebody who's trying to thrust a sharp, pointy object into your body is a behavioral thing far more than it is a technical thing.
He begins to retreat. He surrenders and he retreats.
In dealing with people in combat, you're primarily talking about nervous systems. You can change the technology all you want. The human nervous system's still the same. It's still going to react the same way to the high stress levels of lethal combat.
To deal with the stress of the battlefield, the Marine Corps tempers the physical demands of martial arts training with character-building lessons.
You want every person that you train to be as good as you.
I do believe it is the heart and soul of our warrior ethos.
Rock, good job. Nice finishing touch.
Our program, I believe, is unlike any other because we have 3 disciplines.
Hands.
We have the physical discipline, which is probably the sexiest. Guys just love going out there, rolling around, throwing punches and fighting and stuff like that. That's why we joined the Marine Corps.
Stay up.
There's 182 techniques and 5 different belt levels.
Turn around. Give me your money.
Don't shoot.
We also have the mental piece, which is studying the other cultures that are warriors, the Spartans, the Zulus, the Apaches, and all the other cultures that have a warrior mindset. And then the part that I think I enjoy the most about this program is the character piece. It's about teaching Marines the difference between right and wrong, about doing the right thing 24/7.
The Marine Corps has been making a concerted effort at developing character.
Target. Target.
Even to the point in training close combat skills, they do not separate those two things. Integrity is part of close combat skills.
Target right. Target right.
It is an aspect of the warrior culture. Part of your identity as a warrior is being a man of integrity, a man of ethics.
The Spartans had a saying that the purposes of drills and exercises is less to strengthen the back than it is to toughen the mind. The physical training and the hard discipline allows them to be harder mentally and allows them to have that confidence. So they go hand in hand. Marine warrior ethos has been around since the very beginning. It grows even stronger because we rely on our history and the deeds done by Marines past to have an influence on what we do in the future.
Martial arts is not something that's new. It's been around for years. The first real martial artists in the Marine Corps were the Raiders of World War II. There's a lot of similarities between what the Raiders did and what we're doing today.
That connection to the past is never far from the martial arts program. McMap is headquartered in Raider Hall, home to a collection of Marine Raider memorabilia.
We're so proud that they have named this Raider Hall. We take great pride and we're very humbled by the fact that the Marine Corps still feels that we've got a place.
The Marine Raiders were formed in early 1942, at a time when America was on the defensive in the Pacific War. They were the nation's first guerrilla warfare troops and are frequently referred to as America's first special forces.
They were the first ones to do amphibious operations from rubber boats. They were launching from submarines. They were coming off of destroyers. They were landing in places that were unexpected by the enemy, by the Japanese during World War II.
They made us keenly aware that the Raiders were a special group. We were cocky as could be. Now, burying your first dead takes care of the cockiness. But we were still as confident as anybody could be.
The Raiders' job was to take the fight to the Japanese in the Pacific. To move, as Marines have done throughout their history, toward the sound of the guns.
It was the first move back to roll them back up the string of islands that they had taken. It was the first really step on the way to Tokyo.
The Raiders went into Tulagi, and they fought at Guadalcanal. One of the great fights in Marine Corps history was Raiders Ridge, Edson's Ridge, in September of '42. Against a whole brigade of Japanese who were pretty good jungle fighters. It was a hell of a fight. It went on for 2 nights. The Raiders held. And so they were legendary.
By 1944, the tide in the Pacific War had turned, and the Marine Raiders were no longer needed. They rejoined regular units, ending a brief but glorious chapter in Marine Corps history.
We realized, even though we were 17 and 18-year-olds, that if this thing wasn't won, the world was going to be a very, very different place. It was really to preserve our way of life, and that sounds a little corny, but it sure wasn't. We figured that any day we ever lived the rest of our lives was a bonus, because anybody that got in and out of the Raiders and made it really was a lucky man.
The Raiders' legacy is indelible with the Marine Corps. It goes back to the